since she hadn't got a memory.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a recording.
Yeah.
I recorded the garden
Yeah.
meeting the other night. Okay, now it's recording. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our Bible study is a little portion from our Sunday reading from Philippians. And so I'll put it up here on the screen and we can all see it. And
Yeah.
maybe Bill, you would like to read it? First time through, listen for something that stands out.
Sure. Okay. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guide your heart and your mind in Jesus Christ.
Okay. What jumped out at you when you heard Bill read that lesson?
Rejoice in the Lord always. That jumped out right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not.
Let your
I
gentleness
was
be known to
struck-
everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's it. I was struck by let your gentleness be known to everyone.
Is that what you
There's
said too, Bill?
just something.
Mine is the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds,
Okay.
And
even
mine
when
is
we're not
do
even
not,
thinking about it.
do not worry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is an appropriate script
Yeah.
to read.
Yeah. For this time
Yeah.
in history, you bet. Okay. Penny, would you like to read it the second time?
Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
Okay. This part of the letter is near the end, and it's a very affectionate letter. Paul really felt close to the Philippians. So why do you think he ends the
Yeah.
letter encouraging them to rejoice?
Well, maybe life wasn't going so well.
Yeah. You think they had
Yeah.
it was difficult for them to rejoice?
Yeah.
What if you heard that today? What if you heard Paul, whoever said, rejoice in the Lord? Could you rejoice today?
Yeah.
Weren't they being persecuted?
Possibly. Mhm.
And, now he's just saying rejoice. Depend on the Lord. He's near.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything. Pray.
Don't be worried about the persecution, but live a life of rejoicing because you know that the Lord is near.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
I've heard, who was it? Some preacher way back would say, if you want to be a certain way, act as if.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about this. If we, even though I don't feel like rejoicing is act as if I'm rejoicing, then maybe I will.
Yeah. Good advice.
Yeah.
Mhm. So Paul says the best way to deal with anxiety is to offer it to God in prayer. So how does prayer help to calm our anxiety?
I think that goes back to the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds. Usually we are anxious because we are thinking of something. We're not sure what's going to happen. We don't have any answers for the questions we're asking. And so therefore, we need something that will calm our spirits. And what better way than have God come put peace in our minds?
Yeah.
It's actually taking your anxieties, putting them in words and turning them over. And that putting them in words and turning them over, your acknowledgement that you've done it, releases you.
We cast all our cares on God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you say, putting it in words helps. When you have fears and anxiety, oftentimes the worst part is that we haven't, got any hold over them. We don't, they're just
Yeah.
chaotic. But when you put them into words, that helps. And when you offer it to God, you know that God is there for you, and it feels good to let God handle some of these too. Let go and let God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finally, Paul said,
And
the peace of God is,
and wear your mask.
and wear your mask. Yeah. Keep calm.
There was
wear your
a
mask.
cartoon on that, Bill, in Dilbert today about he was at
Yeah.
a meeting and he said to the guy on the screen, "You don't have to wear your mask at a meeting." And he says, the other guy says, "Well, do you have any empirical studies about that?" It was funny.
Yeah. Number 3, Paul says the peace of God is beyond our understanding. So how have you experienced the peace of God?
Within my mind, and when I'm in church, and it's and when I purge my mind of things that are making me frantically emotional, it allows God to come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I like the idea of purging your mind from all of the stuff.
Yeah. Letting it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff.
Yeah.
And most of the problems that we put on ourselves are what cause us to have these anxieties.
Mhm.
We think we've done something right and it doesn't work out. And so, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now?
Mhm.
We just amp that up to a point where it's just not healthy anymore.
Mhm.
Right.
So
It takes over.
nice to have God's peace. We just remember
Yeah.
that God is always with us. It's when we step away.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm drinking to that one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
okay. It's only Coke.
This is one of the blessings at the end of the service. The peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his son, Jesus Christ. It's beautiful, beautiful saying. And it helps us remember that when we pray and give God all our anxiety, then God's peace will be with us. All right. Well, let's see here. Treasurer's report. No, accept the minutes, sorry. We need to have a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting. Everybody get that? I'm sure everybody got them.
If I could, yeah, I got a note that I made a couple of boo-boos in there and spelling boo-boos, which I have corrected.
Yeah.
But there was one in that was kind of that I didn't understand for sure. I wish I could find it. It's what do you call that thing? The stained glass panels or inserts, or what do you call that?
Oh, either one's fine. You know, they're not stained glass windows because they're not going to
It
be taking the place of the windows, but they're, you know, a panel that hangs in the window or an insert that hangs in the window.
Okay, so it just kind of hangs there. Okay. Thank you.
That's how I understand it. So either one would be fine.
Okay,
I'll move to accept them.
Okay, except the ones as
Corrected.
except what?
except the minutes from last minute, the last version you sent out.
Okay, well, I haven't sent it out corrected yet.
Oh, okay. All right, then, is there a second?
I'll
I
second.
have corrected.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. The next thing is a treasurer's report. Jim, have you got something for us?
I'm running a little behind on it this month. The second Thursday snuck up on me.
Yeah. This is the fastest it could be.
Yeah. And
Yeah. This is,
September was the end of the quarter, and I'm still working on the payroll end of quarter stuff. I've got a preliminary number that puts us about $6,000 in the hole on the month. September's often kind of sketchy, and it looked like it was going to be that way this last month. And that moved us into the red on the year.
Okay,
But we had planned on being in the red on the year at this point. So it looks like we'll be about $2,000 to $3,000 in the red, and we were budgeted to be about $4,000 in the red at this point. So I hope to have the final numbers out this weekend. We got a check from Ken Stevens. He had a saving us as beneficiary. So I stuck it in the memorial fund. They withheld taxes, and it's like I couldn't talk him out of it. Oh, it's the rule. You have to withhold taxes. So we'll get a Form 1099 and have to file for a refund.
Yeah.
That'll take it up to about $2,000 total, but we've received $1,669. That would be a nice nest egg for that stained glass window.
oh, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that's about it.
Was our,
I updated the online stuff since the last meeting too, so that almost everything has a then. Just because that one had a comment box so they could say, I want altar flowers for so and so, when we had an altar
Yeah.
flower or altar guild donation box. So everything has a comment box now, so that, and we also added the food drive specifically as its own donation. So it's easier now online to navigate some of those things.
yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, I actually,
Thank you for doing that, Jim.
yeah, I actually put a bit in, a little bit, not much, in for that stained glass panel. And if you don't need it, can that be changed and just put it into the church, what do you say, general fund? Can you do that?
Yeah,
Oh,
if you
okay.
want us
Do I
to.
have to do something to do that, or? Well, I'll call you up and you can tell me how to do that.
Okay. I think it's fine where it is.
Really? Okay.
Okay, was our plate and pledge down quite a bit? Is that the reason for the deficit?
Yeah, it was about half of what we budgeted for the month.
Yeah, okay. All right,
We
it wasn't
got
our expenses.
about 7,500 and we budgeted 15,500. So we're about $24,000 behind on the year. From the budget.
Yeah, from the budget, yeah.
I
Okay.
don't have the comparison for last year.
Okay, should we vote on that report? Carolyn, did you get enough in there to? I don't know if we need to report on that because we didn't get the actual,
Report, yeah.
Oh, okay.
why don't we skip
There's
the,
really nothing to vote on.
yeah, there's nothing to vote on. Okay, let's do that. All right, well, thanks, Jim. And
Holly just handed me dinner and she wanted me to show off.
Oh,
Whoa,
not
that looks
fair.
good.
Whoa,
Pretty
Well, it's
nice.
nice of you to share, but
Yeah.
I can't get my fork into it.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm,
Well, we'll have a vicarious thrill.
yeah. Okay, let's see what's next on the agenda here. Okay, updates to reopening plan. Bill, have you got, you want to tell us a
Yes.
little bit about what you did?
yeah. It was submitted to the chancellor. The chancellor read it over and changed it and put commas in it and fixed it all up. It was like an English paper being turned in. And then added some things that we had to include, like the attestation and consent form, which we didn't have in there. And so that had to be listed and added, and some other little minor things. And so all the corrections have been made, been resubmitted, and it is posted on the diocesan website to be shared out.
It's also posted on our website now.
Yeah, yeah, so yeah. So we are compliant. We have a plan out there that's been approved. And now all we have to do is wait for a time when we think it's okay and do some training and reopening.
Yeah,
A lot of work, Bill. Thank you very much. You put in a lot of time on it.
Yep,
yeah, you
you're
really
welcome.
have. Yeah, thanks for doing that, because not only did the original work you had to do, but you've had to keep updating it, and I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, the
Okay,
dog heard something.
I mean, I think we're doing pretty good on that plan, so that, like Bill says, when the time comes, we have a good plan. We'll have to do some training of people, of course, but at least we got the
Yeah.
plan in place. Who knows when Kitsap County will go to phase 3? So far, it doesn't look like we're making much progress.
There's a little uptick in Kitsap.
Yeah. All right. Okay, stewardship campaign plans. Let's see, I had a little something here. The bishop sent out some resources, and I thought I'd share them. This is 12 steps to successful stewardship that the bishop thought was good, so I thought I'd share it. And I thought maybe we could go around, I don't know how we'll go around the circle, but if we each take one, then we can kind of get through this together. So I'll start off with number 1. It's all about relationships. Peter?
It's about prayer, individual and collective.
Penny?
Cast a vision for the upcoming year.
David?
Design and define your program, compelling vision, goals, and need.
Blaine?
Create materials that share your vision and invite participation.
Jim?
Know your people.
Bill?
Teach and preach. Generosity without ceasing.
Okay. I think I did everybody. So did I miss anybody?
Repeat.
Okay. Stop apologizing that the church needs money. Penny?
Make it easy for people to pledge and give.
Bill?
Make it easy for people to, oh, that was the one. Okay, wasn't paying attention. Put the pledge form on your website.
Blaine?
Promote and work with members to set up reoccurring payments through their bank.
Peter?
Say thank you and celebrate.
Okay.
Yeah,
So those are a lot of, kind of standard ideas for stewardship. Remember that it's not really so much about money as it is about relationships. Everyone in the church feels connected because we're related. We have good relationships, and that's what we need to draw on and emphasize. And prayer. We need to pray about how this is going to all turn out. I think having a vision is important. That's why we try to have a theme. And then number 4 is design and define your program, which is the sort of the theme idea. Create materials that share your vision. Hopefully we can get some things on Facebook, that sort of thing. Know your people, and preach and teach generosity. So that generosity idea is very important. All right, let's see here. The theme I came up with, and I wrote my Vicar's Voice article on stewardship, and I came up with this theme: desert times and desert discipline, because I thought that was appropriate. So let's do a little brainstorming about the theme. How do you think we're living in a desert time?
Desert times. Well, the fact that we can't get together kind of is like being out in the desert and we're looking for the oasis.
Yeah. It's like wandering through the desert.
Yeah. It's the isolation and not knowing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they didn't know where they were going, and they didn't know what was going to come next when they were in the desert.
In a sense, it's a dry time for our relationship with one another because we can't be together in person. But we have been trying to work around that too with our telephone calls. So it's still a dry time as far as relationships go.
Yeah. So what do you think desert discipline means, or what does desert discipline mean to you?
Well, if I were in the desert, I want to conserve what I had, whether it was water or food or whatever,
Yeah,
which is not exactly what we're looking for when we ask people to give money.
true.
Didn't Jesus go out into the desert to, what would you say, contemplate, to commune with God, if you will?
Yeah, I think so.
And I feel like that's what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
I think we're being forced to go into it, frankly.
Yeah. When you're in the desert, yeah, you're confronting God a lot more, for sure. And he went out there just to do that, so that he could meditate with God.
Out in the wilderness or something.
Yeah. Others?
What do I hear? What do I hear?
I hear something there. I don't think
Yeah.
that's one of us.
Oh, okay.
I guess to me, the desert discipline means that, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Mhm.
And we realize, that times are different now, and we realize that we want to keep up the church, even in time of coronavirus. It's important to us, and we don't want to let it slip away from us. And so, we keep giving, and that's part of our discipline, and part of our spiritual discipline is to pay attention to God and keep in connection with our church. So why should our parishioners give during the coronavirus? I wonder if that might be a question that some people might ask. how would we answer that question?
I think we love our church and I think we want to keep it alive, and we have to give of our money and our time in order to keep it going, because eventually we will be able to get back together.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
We still have to pay you,
Yeah,
Bill.
the costs of the church continue.
You got a mortgage.
Yeah, we have ongoing costs that don't stop, and so we can't just quit.
We don't make enough money on that house to cover everything.
It does pretty good. Other thoughts about that question? Why our parishioners should give money during the coronavirus?
Just out of thanksgiving for what God is doing to them, doing for them,
Yeah,
even while they can't meet together, and even while they're in a desert, being isolated, God is still working with them, and they need to be thankful for it.
yeah, I think so. Part of stewardship is recognizing that everything belongs to God, and we're just giving a little bit of it back to God.
This probably isn't a good thing to remind people of, but probably driving less and spending less money and not going on vacations. And so we should be able to continue to donate.
Yeah, I think so. They say, that a lot of people have cut back on their expenses, so that helps. Yeah.
It goes back to last week's gospel reading with the wicked tenants.
Yeah. Mhm.
And there's an expectation, because God has given us everything. He's put us here. He's given us everything we have. And there's sort of an expectation at the season to return him a portion of what he gave us out of thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's not ours.
We're the tenants in the vineyard, and we owe the
Yeah.
owner rent for the vineyard. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to throw stones or kill or harm the messengers that come from the vineyard owner.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be nice if we didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
We already killed the son. I mean, that wasn't good.
No, that wasn't good. Yeah. Well, after all that, I wonder what would be an effective way to do our stewardship campaign this year. We can't have people stand up in front of everybody like we used to. We can't have a stewardship dinner like we did last year that worked so well. So what should we do? I have a few suggestions here. Maybe stewardship talks on video would be helpful, showing, appreciation for the church, or what I miss about the church, or, something along those lines. We could put them in the Sunday Eucharist, or we could add them just on Facebook alone. We could do Facebook posts, emails. We could do Zoom meetings. I don't know how many people would come to a stewardship meeting on Zoom. Maybe we could turn all our pledges in with a drive-by event, or maybe you have some other ideas.
I like the idea that we could put them on Facebook and post them. And I think the idea also, like you've done with readings for church, is to have people do a video there and we embed it into the church service.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we generally have people, I've done it in the past, we have people who stand up and give their stewardship speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah. And those have been
Yeah.
very effective, I think, and you've done a real good job with those, Peter.
That goes at the sermon time. Like it would, instead of having
Right.
the person stand there, have them play the video.
Yeah. Mhm. think people really like
We have the
seeing,
tech, we have the technology and the guy to do it.
yeah. I think people really like seeing their fellow parishioners in the video because it makes them realize, you know, that we are together
Yeah.
in spirit.
I like that about the readings. When we do the readings that are videoed and are played.
Yeah. Well, anybody like to volunteer to do one of these videos? I could videotape you at the church, and then I'd have it ready to put on the computer. Any volunteers? I think it doesn't have to be about money. It can be about, you know, like I said, what I like about my church, or what I miss about church, or you know, what I'm looking forward to when we get back together, that sort of thing. An appreciation of our church.
Can you put out a message to the congregation and see if anyone would be willing to put out something, speak,
I
even
could-
from their
Yeah.
home, like those home videos
Yeah.
like you did with the kids? Or maybe some of the kids could do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll put out a message.
One Sunday.
Usually it
No.
involves me, you know, grabbing people and making them do it.
And I think it's important not to have just the BC do it. I think it's important to have parishioners do it.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah.
And I do like the idea of having a kid or two.
Yeah, that's good. Mhm.
Why do you think you should give? I don't have any money. Then But how do you give
ideas?
of your time, your talent?
Time and talent, yeah. Are there other ideas about what we might do? Okay, what about timing? When do we want to have the ingathering, and so when do we want the pledge letter to go out, that sort of thing? Jimmy, got any ideas on that?
Not really.
Okay. I mean,
Sooner the better.
yeah, it's October already. We probably should set a time in November as the ingathering, don't you think?
Yeah, we usually shoot for around Thanksgiving.
That's what I thought, yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Sounds like a good time.
Would anybody like to help me write the letter for the pledge campaign letter?
Boy, everybody's speaking up right away.
Penny, maybe you'd like to work with me.
I will work with you, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it together.
Okay.
Okay. We'll try to get that out and get pledge cards out too, and give people, you know, several weeks to mull it over.
Put the pledge card also on the website.
Yeah,
people
that's what
can-
they
People can
suggested.
download it from there.
Yeah,
Or, I was just thinking, they could fill it in, actually, if you have it done correctly. But we'd need a little more security on that.
yeah, that's a little beyond my webmaster skills right now.
But I do like the idea, to see if they can put it on there, they can download it,
Yeah,
fill it in, bring it in.
Mhm.
yeah. We'll
But
get
there is a way in which you can have it downloadable online and it comes back.
Yeah. Like I say, that's a little beyond me right now.
Yeah,
I'll
but
ask
that's right
Linda-
now.
I'll
Tomorrow,
ask Linda to do the pledge card and we'll get it up online.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on. What's next here?
also, by the way, when you send out an email about this, email the pledge card with it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, let's see here. Oops. Okay, get back to the screen sharing here. Okay, update on garden plans. Let's see here. Okay, at the garden planning meeting, I sent this out today, the notes from the garden planning meeting. This is the community garden. There was not a lot of enthusiasm about using the word community because that sounds like we're inviting the entire Kitsap County to come into our property. So I just said garden planting, but this is not the memorial garden. This would be a vegetable and flower garden. So Esther reminded us that the gospel calls us to feed the hungry, and the garden would help us do that, do what Jesus says. There were quite a few questions about whether we should invite outsiders to come onto our property, at least for the first year. And people felt very defensive about that and very protective. There was a concern that we don't have enough volunteers, that we're getting older, that you know, people can't do all this, and we already have enough trouble keeping the landscaping free of weeds. Elizabeth Flagg wanted to include flowers for the Altar Guild. Loretta and Chris said that we need to make a land use plan for our church property before we do anything else. In other words, not just stick something here and stick something there, you know, kind of without a larger plan. I think there was a desire to keep it small the first year.
Makes sense.
We set a new meeting date. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about having a community garden?
I think we've got the land for it, and I think if we're going to be part of the community, we can start small with just what we want to do as a parish. We can grow flowers for the Altar Guild. We can grow vegetables that we, or whatever, that we can give them out to the food banks if they'll take them, or to our own parishioners, that we grow our own stuff. And then see how that goes, and then expand from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That
I like that.
we're not going to do it all the first year.
But Bill, there is some credence in what Chris was saying and Loretta and everybody else, that we've danced around it, but we need a land use plan.
Mhm.
You know, I think was pretty adamant that from many of the members on the meeting that should be where we start is, you know, so we're not, you know, putting in a small garden here and then next year it's going to be somewhere else, you know, and that's probably, and Dave started to work that, probably got overcome by events, but you know, that's where we need to be. It's not the idea of having a certain garden, it's having what we're going to do with all these. Even the garden meeting talked about a flower garden and the memorial garden and
Yeah.
all these other things.
Yeah.
Well, David, didn't you do some work on kind of planning some landscaping or sections of things? It seemed to me that you had.
No. When I brought it up, the board did not want to do anything about this.
Okay.
But the memorial garden issue wasn't going to go away. So I finally just moved forward and just looked around the church property and said, where was a spot that we couldn't build on, that we couldn't do something with, And I said, okay, that spot was next to the church and between the church and the fence. And that's what I said would become the memorial garden. That's what I brought to the bishops committee and asked permission to do. But I did it solely on it really be used for anything else.
Yeah, and I think that,
Because I believe that we do need a better land use plan.
yeah, I think that
Yeah.
the place you picked for the memorial garden makes a lot of sense. You know, it's kind of protected there. It's between the church and the landscaping on the north side, and it you know, it'd be a nice location. So that makes sense.
I like the idea that it's behind the chapel area
Yeah,
and you've got the windows
Yeah.
there and they can make it really pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. If done right, you could see it from the windows and it would look really nice.
eventually those trees will grow up, you know, really tall, and they'll make a nice backdrop.
They'll just
We've
add to it.
got to
Yeah.
start then on where certain things are going to be.
Mhm.
Do we just need to sketch it out like an architect would do if they were building a building?
Yeah, I can take some of the architect's drawings, and we can use those as a preliminary map that we can draw on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to take this on and do a land use, help do a land use plan?
I wonder if this is too soon, too early before the coronavirus is over. I'm wondering if we should wait till we can get out there with several people to you know, talk together about it and look at the land and, you know, that kind of thing. I just wonder if this is a little bit early to think about doing that.
A lot of,
I think that what you need to do is we need to put together a proposal. So someone has to put together, hey, here's what I think. And then when we can all get together and meet as a group, we take that plan and we look at it and people can say, oh yeah, I like this spot. No, this place needs to be moved here, but we have a starting place. We need to have something to start from. Otherwise we spin our wheels in the discussion. You can say, oh yeah, good idea. No, we need to move it. Here's where it should be. And you can move it and then say, okay, how does that fit there?
Mhm,
So I think we need a plan to start with.
mhm.
would you like to do that, Bill?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. You know,
Um,
if I get a copy of the land use or, you know,
A map.
the
map.
architect drawing of the land.
Okay.
And just sort of sit there and look at it and look at what's the possibilities and just give possibilities.
Good.
And if I do it on pieces of paper and just tape them down, we can pick them up and move them. We can change the sizes. We can shuffle them around and
Good idea.
see where things fit.
Good.
Reminds me how we used to do
Okay.
felt. Whenever you put felt, have a little
Oh,
article.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do something like that.
I was thinking
Yeah.
graph paper.
yeah.
I've
Or
got a question
it's-
that might be too early to ask, but something Peter said triggered a question in my mind. Is there a doubt in our minds that food banks would accept vegetables that we grow?
I don't know what
I
they
know that
want for
South will.
fresh.
Yeah,
Most food banks will
South
take
will
fresh.
accept fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, other churches have given quite a bit to food banks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's work on that. I'll send you those plans, Bill, and we can work on that together.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, good.
All right, thanks. Okay. Mutual ministry results. I kind of summarized them here. So they're up on the screen. Penny, you want to say anything about them? We could go
The
through
one
this
thing
list if
that-
you want.
I don't know if 51 responses is a good response or not. You know, when you think of the amount of people that we have as parishioners, I don't know what the proportion comes out to be. But one thing that I found very encouraging when we were going through this is that the time that the people took to write comments down. I think that's great. I was very encouraged that people would take the time to think it through and write their comments. And I
Yeah.
know, and as you've seen, if you've read it, you've seen that some of the people included their names. And I know who some of the other people are that maybe didn't include their names.
Yeah, I thought 51 was pretty good, really. You know, I think we've done it other years. We've had like 35 or 40. So this is pretty good.
I'm not surprised at the number of people who are talking about how they return to church. Those 17 that feel that they're at risk and are unsure when to return, they may be even pushed back into the phase 4 or the vaccine area, you know, when it really comes down to it.
Yeah. I've heard other clergy say that their churches are split about a third, a third, a third. That's about what we have here. A third are ready to come back whenever we're ready. A third just are not quite ready, and a third are just going to wait for a long time. And so I think that's pretty typical. Whenever we do start coming back, you know, I guess that 18 who's comfortable, they'll come, and then the others will kind of gradually get on board over time. And that's why we want to keep live streaming.
I know that we have one family who are, I don't know whether I want to say impatient, but frustrated in the fact that we are not exploring ways to meet to have some type of a in-person service.
Yeah, some people are anxious to get back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be young.
No. No, I know who these people are.
Oh,
Well, you know, from my point of view as a priest, I don't want to be responsible for someone getting the coronavirus and dying because we opened too early.
Mhm.
So my instincts are to be conservative.
Yeah.
And I know that
We do have the spacing and so on, and we have the protocols for getting everybody in, but I was thinking in 2 weeks, I was going to send out something and in 2 weeks, get people to come in who would like to be trained.
Yeah.
To be greeters and ushers and get that done.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
And Bill, the thing that comes to mind is what you said about the memorial service. Even though we've got our protocols and we have our things set up, it's just human nature that we want to go and greet, and it's just so easy to do it.
Yeah. I watched people and I just saw them just naturally just reach out to each other.
Yeah. It's human nature.
Mhm.
It is. So it's hard.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's probably more human nature during memorial or a funeral service because you want to comfort people who are there. It's certainly also when we're in our regular church services reaching out to people, but there's this need to comfort the people who are grieving.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's move on here. 21 people participated in the Zoom coffee hour at one time or another, and 25 have not. I think that's probably typical that, some people don't like Zoom and some people, don't want to just get on there. So that's okay. We've had pretty good, steady group that comes together. We had 8 people participate in Zoom outreach meetings. That's not a lot.
Especially when you spread it out over a half a dozen meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill,
Yeah.
is there any way of streaming the live service on Sunday on the website rather than Facebook? Because I know people who don't go onto Facebook, who don't like Facebook.
Right now, you can go on our webpage and you can connect to the Facebook live stream without having an account.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, it'll tell you on there, huh?
You don't need to have an account.
Mhm.
That's part of what we have here in the summary that Bill sent to all of you folks, because it says that 46 people have been able to watch the Eucharist on Facebook. Unfortunately, I think that some people have the impression that they must be Facebook members to have access. And so you bring up a really good point, and it needs to be emphasized that you don't have to be signed in to Facebook. You can access it, without that.
Yeah.
Might be something to put in the monthly letter
Yeah. that's
Newsletter?
good, yeah. Mhm.
as just a reminder that you can do that.
Yeah, okay. So for the phone calls, we had 29 that have received calls frequently, 13 occasionally, and 6 haven't received calls. That's pretty good considering how hard it is to keep calling. I think it's,
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it. I feel pretty good about that.
The 6
Yeah.
that haven't received calls bother me because I don't know who they are, other than Dolores Pieria. She had indicated that she hadn't received calls, and so I picked her up and put her on my calls and had a long
Okay.
conversation with her. I wish I could do that with the other 5 that haven't received them, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
26 preferred contact by phone, 9 by mail, 2 by snail mail. That's not too surprising. As far as how the BC and Vicar have handled the coronavirus, 39 gave top points, 3 almost as good, and 4 in the middle. So that sounds like a pretty good mandate.
And I'll say
Yeah.
that they had more criticism about the BC than they did about the Vicar.
Oh, did they?
What did they say?
Well, just that they don't feel that they're hearing from the BC. And really, they don't. I mean, we're not doing monthly reports, sometimes we're writing articles in the newsletter and sometimes we're not. And this is just kind of I don't want to say a stagnant time, but it's difficult to stay in contact with our parishioners as a bishop's committee. And when Dolores asked me what we did what was a BC, I said, well, it's a little bit like a board of directors for a company. We're behind the scenes and we make decisions when decisions have to be made for the church and stuff. And so those are not always very verbal things, outspoken things that we do. We're kind of quiet behind the scenes people.
Yeah, I think people like it when the BC members communicate because they have a feeling of someone being in charge, and so I think that gives them a sense of security. And I think in our church, there's a kind of an expectation that the BC members will do some communicating.
Yeah, I think they want us to be visible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for the communication, how well we've communicated, they said 28 give us top points, 14 almost as good, 5 in the middle, and 1 poorly. Bishop Brickell got an A from 30, a B from 7, a C from 6 people, a D from 2, and 1 person was not impressed.
Probably
And
the same one that said we did poorly on communications.
maybe so, yeah. And
Yeah,
whether we're a strong and healthy parish, 24 said yes, 18 pretty good, and 2 in the middle. So that's not too bad either.
yeah,
I think it's a pretty good report card, frankly.
Yeah, I do too. I felt pretty good about it. There are some things we can improve, but in general, I feel like people are on board. You know, one of the worries that I have is that during coronavirus, things are just going to kind of fall apart. But I think that people are still on board with us. You know, they're still committed to their church. They care about their church. I know they're waiting to get back together, but they haven't left and they haven't given up. And I don't think we,
Well,
No,
that's pretty
I
much
think-
true with all aspects of life.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
We're in a desert, you remember.
yeah,
I think we really need to look at the comments and suggestions that they made.
right.
One in particular hit me when we were talking about how, is there a way that we could help people who are not computer savvy? And one suggestion was to hold some kind of a tutorial in the event shelter. And I thought, well, that might be, you know, something that could be done to help people understand how to access via Facebook or something. It's one thing to write it in the newsletter. It's another thing to show people more hands-on if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we had a session where people could come maybe by appointment to do that.
Yes, that's, they said by reservation. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
Need to really look at the suggestions that people have taken the time to write, and we need to think about whether it's something that has value or something that we either can't do right now or something that we probably are not interested in doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see any others that popped out at you besides that one, Penny?
Well, one that I've thought about before, and that is if we have people within our parish who are, well, let's use Jim Foley as an example. Jim, can I use you as an example?
Sure.
You have a grasp of how to present the budget to us in a very visual way. You do it with colorful graphs, and you have knowledge in doing that that I certainly don't have. There are other people in our parish who may be lawyers or not necessarily doctors, but this one talks about congregational members with skills need to match parishioners' needs. Accounting, lawyers, funeral helpers, you know, artistic people, people that know how to do things that other people don't know how to do. Let's say if you're doing woodworking, how do you use a C-clamp? Okay, there's times when I've had to use one, and fortunately I knew what I was doing, but not everybody would. You know, kind of that thing, if you've got the knowledge, share it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a talent bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of. We talk about time, talent, and treasure. Well, there's a lot of talent that we could share with one another. And I love the suggestion that somebody made. They had a whole list of suggestions, and down at the bottom, they put an asterisk and they said, somebody to coordinate all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
All I'm saying is don't lose the summary of the MMR. Look over the suggestions that people have taken the time to make and think about them.
yeah, like you said, people were very diligent about giving responses, and I think we do need to take them seriously. Yeah. Well, thank you, Penny. That was very good, and thanks so much for going through all those and writing down all the responses. That's a lot of mutual ministry reviews to go through.
It's interesting reading handwriting.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, next up on the agenda is Blaine and the in-gathering. Did you want to say anything about that, Blaine?
Just that everything's in place, and anybody who's read the newsletter or seen Linda's emails, it's spelled out pretty easy how to do it. Jim, thank you for what you did, because that closes another loop. And we've got 36 pounds so far collected. And hopefully as people read this and do it, they'll just follow it. I know it's kind of sterile, but there's not much you can do to make it exciting on the web. What we'll need in the future will be some volunteers. We got some from the meeting, but we'll need some volunteers on October 19th and 23rd for the collecting the food in a non-contact method at the church. So that's kind of throwing it out to the bishops committee that if you're not doing anything that morning, I know where you can be.
That's Saturday, October 19th, right?
Monday,
Monday, October 19th.
right? Because we have to do it on a day that the food bank's open.
Oh, right.
Otherwise, we've got to move the stuff twice.
Yeah, okay.
And there we have more contact issues.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's really all I've got. Just, if anybody has any questions, there's a lot of literature out there. They should read it, or they can contact me or, anybody. But the key for this working is for people to read the literature. Linda puts out stuff every week. We've got it at Facebook. We've got it at Instagram, and this is really congregational dependent.
Yeah.
If they don't step up, it doesn't happen this time.
It sounds to me like this might be a good usage of the telephone tree to
Oh, yeah.
contact the people who are doing the calls and have them remind folks that if they're willing to donate food or money, that this is how they do it.
That would work good. If you can bring the telephone tree up on it, all the documentation is there.
I'll sure give it a try.
It's another avenue to remind people.
Mhm.
Okay, good. And Blaine, you'll keep us updated so that we can keep people updated with the progress, and so that'll be good too.
Oh yeah, every couple of days, about once a week, you'll get something for the Facebook and Instagram. Whenever Jim touches base, and he'll send that information to me and I'll put it out.
Okay,
So you can look for things about once a week.
okay, good. All right, next item on the agenda is observation of Indigenous Peoples Day. You probably know that October 12th, next Monday, is Columbus Day, but it's become Indigenous Peoples Day as a way of recognizing that Columbus did not discover America, that there were already people here. So our bishop has asked us to find some way to observe Indigenous Peoples Day. And I'm going to send out some things on Monday so that people can get an idea. And one of the things I thought we might discuss tonight is whether we might do a land acknowledgement statement. Now, let me bring this up on the screen here.
Is this the one that was put out at convention last year, Bill?
Yeah, there was something like that, wasn't there? That's where I first heard of it, I think, is at convention. Elizabeth and Ray Flagg have gone to their church in Tucson where they winter, and they had it in their bulletin every Sunday. It said something like We acknowledge the traditional peoples of the land on which we stand, especially the Pascua Yaqui, Sabai Puriand, Tohono O'odham nations. We pay our respect to them for their care of the land. And I just went on the internet. You can find a million of these. There's a church in Indiana that says, "We recognize that the land where we worship belongs to God, as does all of creation. We also acknowledge that Miami and Potawatomi peoples lived here before settlers of European descent claimed ownership of it and displaced those for whom this land was home." So I found this on the internet too. There's a ton of stuff out there. It says, why introduce the practice of land acknowledgement? To offer recognition and respect, to counter the doctrine of discovery with the true story of the people who were already here, to create a broader public awareness of the history that has led to this moment, to begin to repair relationships with Native communities and with the land, to support larger truth-telling and reconciliation efforts, to remind people that colonization is an ongoing process with Native lands still occupied due to deceptive and broken treaties, to take a cue from Indigenous protocol, opening up space with reverence and respect, and to inspire ongoing action and relationship. I looked up there's a map online that shows you all the tribes that used to occupy the land that you're on. And it's got kind of overlapping circles, you know, and it says that we are on land that was occupied by the Suquamish people, the Duwamish people, and the Coastal Salish people. So, you know, we could put that in an acknowledgement statement. I don't know what people would think about that. How do you think that would go over?
You'll
I
never
thought there
know
was a
until
lot
we
of,
do
go
it.
ahead, go ahead, Peter.
What'd you
We'll
say,
never
Peter?
know until we just do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we could use what the diocese has put together as a baseline. We talked about it a lot at the last convention.
Yeah, we
And
can
I
start with
thought
that.
that they had a statement and that we discussed it.
Mhm.
And I thought it was pretty well versed.
Yeah, we could do that.
And,
Mhm.
and
Do we have a
I don't know,
column?
is Bishop Rickles, didn't he do something on this as far as a video? One of his little
Probably did.
podcasts?
I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Probably.
Do we have a collect that we could use on this Sunday? Not this, yeah.
Let's
Let's see, no.
Sunday.
Let's see, a week from this Sunday, is there a collect that can be used
Or this Sunday, yeah.
as a,
Yeah, I bet I can find one. That's a good idea.
Monday is Indigenous Day.
Yeah, it used to be Columbus Day.
yeah, I was just looking,
It's also Lori Wagner's
Yeah.
birthday.
Okay.
so, you know, if you had with a collect, that would get it started. And then everything else could be sent out and
How
posted.
could we educate our congregation about this? Because I think we need to, you know, bring people on board with this instead of just blasting something out there. We need to, you know, help people understand what this is about and, you know, get their feedback from it.
Could you say something about it during announcements? I realize that you said Craig will be giving the sermon this Sunday, but could you acknowledge the day on Monday in announcements?
I'll do that. And like I said,
Yeah.
I'll send out some things on Monday, a video talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you may reach more people on Sunday because those people that have come to the service
Yeah.
and people not
Yeah,
only from this region either. You're going to be reaching people because you've alluded to the fact that other folks from around the US tune in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
I wish we had some historians around here who knew something about our property, because I think that it's probably pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder about those little folks that live next door to us that David goes to visit. I wonder if they know anything.
they might. Yeah, they might. Mhm.
I'll ask David to ask them if they know
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Bill, something that I'm looking at right now is the Diocese of Olympia has a Indigenous Peoples First Nation Ministry section that discusses a lot of what we're just discussing: orientation, sense of communal practice, links between honoring, generosity, and stewardship. They've got quite a bit of it listed out here. It might be a good resource.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, maybe I'll put something in the newsletter about it so that, you know, as time goes on, we can educate the parish and let them know that we're working on a land acknowledgement statement, so that if anybody has any feedback, they could give it to us. Because I don't want to rush into this. It's no rush.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think that gets us to the end of the agenda. Anybody else have reports or additional items to discuss?
No, but I have one thing to share with you. I did not, I was not watching during the time when you were doing the memorial for Ken Stevens. But fortunately, I found it that, you know, on the Facebook page, I could go down and take a look at the recording of it. So I did. And later I emailed Loretta and I told her that I thought it was a tribute that was worthy of Ken. It was very well done. And I said, I don't know if this has occurred to you, and I don't know if you're a George Clooney fan, but when I was watching, I saw a similarity between Ken and George Clooney. I said, maybe it was just the twinkle in the eye. And Loretta emailed me back and she said, I always thought Ken was better looking than George Clooney. I just wanted to share that.
That's good, Penny. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, great. Well, are we ready to adjourn?
I sent out an email of a brochure that I thought I'd forwarded to you, Bill, earlier
Yeah.
about something that could be used. We could put in our HVAC system that helps sanitize the air and the surfaces in the building. It's an air scrubber that uses UV. And that might help make it safer to open and raise the confidence to be able to want to open.
Is this something that goes in the HVAC system?
Yeah.
Okay,
I have one that is in my living room that's been running for 2-3 months, and it just sort of helps keep the house less. It pulls the air through it and through the ultraviolet light and then expels it, and it's just a continuous, ongoing 24/7 to help keep it safer.
Yeah, this basically relies on the HVAC system to circulate the air, but that turns the whole system into a UV sanitizer. So kind of the same idea.
sounds good.
Yeah.
That brings up a question, though. We had been turning the system off during services, and now we're going to kind of be mandated that they must be on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we have not figured out how to handle the noise issue.
that's right.
And I don't know how that's going to affect your recording either.
Are those fans still as slow as they can get?
I had the HVAC people come out, and that's the best they can do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Wear long johns under your vestments.
We need to keep the fans going to circulate the
Yeah.
air, like David
Right.
said. So it's going to be a competition with the noise. It's just, I don't know how we can get around it.
Yeah.
I'd like
The
to,
diocesan protocol requires us to do it, and it's part of our protocol.
That's not my issue, gentlemen. My issue is we've never resolved the noise problem.
Right. Oh, I agree.
Are we doing any investigation to move forward with trying to figure out something to help us with that? Because we are going to have to run it. I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything at this point. No.
No.
I'd like to go up and take a look at it and see how it was installed. Very early in my career, I worked in a high-rise building that had very large HVAC system and learned some things about how to install it so it doesn't make noise. I mean, it was a system that had 820 horsepower turbine fans that I could stand up inside of. And it didn't make so much noise that you couldn't, work in an office one floor away.
Mhm.
So there's, I would like to see how these were installed and maybe see if there's something we could do to ameliorate it.
Yeah, I think
Well-
the installation was poor. And I think it's going to take some investigation like Jim's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, love to have you come look at it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try to find the time
Okay, great. Okay,
after finishing the treasurer report.
yeah, that's right. Okay, are there other items to bring up? Okay, I think the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Take
All right.
care, everyone.
Hey. Yep. Good night.